Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous podcast, hosted by Bruce Hutcheon, in episode number 144.
Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous podcast, where it is all about whitetail deer hunting tips, techniques, and the stories so you can become a more successful whitetail deer hunter. And now your host, Bruce Hutcheon.
Jessica Byers was born and raised in Central Texas. She's an avid bone hunter driven by the outdoors. Her dad and her husband are key roles in her basic knowledge of hunting and fishing, and she's always trying to find something unfamiliar for personal growth. Her high-strung personalities find peace in the outdoors, and if she can't help elk, she loves hunting dogs any chance she gets. She's also known as Follow Her Arrow, and she recently started a blog called followherarrow.com to share her outdoor experiences, including her mistakes, and hope and encouraging other women to pick up a bow. She's passionate about representing only a select few companies and is actively working towards her ultimate sponsors. Welcome to another exciting episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutcheon. And why is it exciting? Well, we're going to visit with Jessica Taylor Byers, also known as Follow Her Arrow. Central Texas born lady, raised an avid bow hunter that's paving her way into the outdoor industry. She has recently started a blog at followherarrow.com to share her outdoor experiences, including her mistakes and hopes, encouraging other women to pick up a bow. So, Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bruce. Thank you.
Hey, in the warm-up, I asked you to give me 3 subjects, and I'm just going to frame that right now and let our listeners hear what we're going to talk about. And the number one thing, encouraging other women. What drove Jessica to start a blog, Follow Her Arrow, and she wanted to inspire women not to be intimidated in a male-dominated industry. So let's just start off with number one, and let's talk about your experiences, not only in social media, but in the field where you really want to step up and make sure that other women can be welcomed into the outdoor industry.
So I've been hunting for most of my life. My dad always had me in the field, and I always had this comfort with him because I had him basically holding my hand and teaching me, the ins and outs and safety. And he was there when I harvested my first few animals. And eventually I got comfortable enough to start hunting alone. And I did that for many, many years. And then I met my husband, who introduced me to bow hunting. And I just felt this sense of empowerment when I started bow hunting. I guess taking it back to, how we originally hunted for our food, as far back as we can remember. So there was it just made me feel empowering. And, I thought back to all the years that I really wanted to pick up a bow, and I was just nervous. I was intimidated. I felt like I can't walk into that archery shop. They're going to think I don't know what I'm doing, or, you have all these assumptions. And I was lucky enough to have someone walk me through, from my dad walking me through all the, gun hunting, and my husband with bow hunting. And I thought about all the women out there who may not have that. And it just inspired me to start this blog and talk about, my successes as well as my failures, because I am human. And I found that as I started hunting, bow hunting about 3 years ago, a lot of people assume that I'm just this awesome hunter and that I'd never mess up. And it's such a misconception. And people will relate to you better when you can talk about what you did wrong and what you could have done better. So I started it thinking this will be a resource for them to see what to do, what not to do, in case they don't have that male inspiration in their life, the way that I've been, so grateful to have. So, that's kind of how things got started. And I came up with Follow Her Arrow, and it caught on social media, and it's kind of blown up to be, more than what I imagined it would be. Again, I started it as, for fun, and I'm just trying to see where it goes from here. I've had a lot of great feedback and a lot of women that message me daily just saying thank you for being an inspiration, or thank you for being real, thank you for talking about the things that other people don't want to talk about, as far as messing up and the embarrassments and things like that. So it's been really cool. It's been a really cool fun road already. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Now, social media, what platforms are you on?
Currently I'm on Instagram as my main platform, and that's Follow Her Arrow. And then I'm also on Facebook. I have a business page, Follow Her Arrow /Outdoors with Jessica Taylor. And then recently I started a YouTube channel, Follow Her Arrow as well, and that's fairly new. So I have a couple of videos of me just talking about product and some heat that I received from men in the industry and how I've dealt with that. And then also I recently did my last doe hunt. I got it all on film. That was my first official hunting video that my husband helped me record, and it was so much fun. I'm finding a lot of inspiration and excitement by just starting to video and be able to edit my own hunts. I'd never done that before, so it's been kind of a fun road to go down.
Sounds like it. Let's talk about aspiring women, and you mentioned not to be intimidated. Let's go back to a couple of times that you felt intimidated and how that all was resolved.
I'm trying to think of I can tell. I mean, for one, it's not relating, to bow hunting necessarily, but just in the industry. Being out dove hunting dove hunting is really big in Texas, and I guess it was 2 seasons ago, and I was so afraid. I was so afraid to even shoot I've never shot a shotgun before. My dad raised me in a rifle stand hunting whitetail and predators and hogs and whatnot. So I was so afraid to pick up that shotgun and shoot, because I was afraid that they would make fun of me if I missed a bird. And it actually wasn't until last week, the day right after I got back from SHOT Show, I went to a range and I had my first lesson with a shotgun, because I refused to let something like that intimidate me and keep me from learning something new. And truthfully, I've had a great support system. Anytime I have questions and things like that, I've had a really good, support system, people wanting to help me. So I'm kind of over that now. But a couple of years ago, I was just refused to even try to shoot a dove, because I was just these guys are going to make fun of me. They're going to say I'm a girl, I don't belong in the field, and anything like that. And I can't think of another time right off the top of my head, but just always being the girl in deer camp, literally my whole life. A lot of times I was the only one there. So when you have all these men around, you kind of feel small, like maybe I don't belong here. Maybe this isn't what girls are supposed to be doing. And I never wanted to play with Barbies and do all that. So it felt really out of place. And as I've gotten older, I've just been more confident in what I'm capable of doing, and it's grown from there. And I've had a great support system. So.
Now, how did you develop that support system to where now you say, hey, I want to learn how to shoot a shotgun, so you go out to a range, a trap range or skeet range, and somebody walks you through it. So what did you have to do to get through that barrier?
It sounds really cliche, but I just ask as many questions as possible, and I just am really honest with them. Like, hey, I don't know how to do this, and I really want to know, and I might not be that great at it, but I think I'm just as capable of being great at it in time. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people are just excited that they can teach something that they are passionate about. I guess it's just working up the nerve and having enough courage to just say, I don't know how to do this, and can you help me? and 9 times out of 10, somebody's, would be more than willing to help you. Especially being a girl, it's been like the opposite experience for me. I find it a lot easier to have that kind of support because it's not so rare anymore. You see a lot of women coming into the industry, but we are still such a small percentage to the men that they are ecstatic to help a woman, learn, teach them how to do what they do every day, on their free time. So it's actually been the opposite experience than what I assumed. These assumptions kept me from asking questions, and then when I finally did, it's been great. So now I'm just kind of fearless. I'm just, hey, I don't know how to do this. Help me. And they do.
That's great. Let's just switch it up now to bow hunting. What's your notes here? I'm reading the challenge of harvesting an animal with a bow makes me crave more each day. It makes me feel unstoppable. So let's talk about bow hunting, specifically archery hunting, and some of the lessons learned that you've acquired over the last few years and why that's helped you become a better huntress.
Well, for most of my life, like I said, when my dad was teaching me over the years, I always rifle hunted. And there was this period of time when I wasn't hunting I quit hunting as much. I still went, but I had lost that drive. I started feeling, I don't know, I guess I was almost feeling guilty. Like I wasn't getting the same adrenaline and excitement out of it. And so I just kind of like backed off. And so when I was introduced to a bow and I realized, okay, there's all these things that I don't know, that I've never done before. It's totally different than anything I've ever experienced. And it made me feel like I could just accomplish anything. Like once the first time that I finally did harvest something, I almost started crying. And I was like, this is what I've been, wanting this, for so many years. I've been wanting to learn. And that excitement and that passion just was like boiling out of me. It just lit a fire inside of me, and I love it. I love everything about it. And that's not to put gun hunters down. I don't want that to be misunderstood. I have all the respect in the world for gun hunters. There's something really empowering about having a bow and the challenges that I had to face as far as scent and just being really quiet and being that close to an animal. Those are just totally different than, my previous experiences.
Talk about who helped you get ready and build the confidence into you so you could get out in the field and harvest, your own animal.
With my bow?
Mm-hmm.
My husband. So I met him about 3.5 years ago. The summer of 2012, and for my birthday, about 6 months later, he got me my first bow, and he literally walked me through every single thing, and I can't wait for you to be able to talk to him. He's like the most diehard bow hunter I've ever met in my life. He loves it, and so he's taught me everything he's basically just told me, scratch everything that you know, and we're going to start fresh. And he, from storing your clothes and scent-free everything, to just like how to move whenever you're in there. Because when you're in a bow stand, you're a lot more exposed. And I was able to like move around a lot more in a rifle stand and stuff. And so he really had to teach me everything. And it was frustrating. The first bow he got me, I couldn't even pull it back. It was the most discouraging thing I'd ever experienced. I was like, I just got this awesome bow and I couldn't pull it back. He had to help me several times, and he's just been really encouraging and a great coach, a great mentor, and now my husband. And he's really passionate about it. It only takes him a few minutes of talking to him to really see him just light up. So it's been fun to learn from someone who just craves every minute of it.
What was the hardest lesson to learn just shooting a bow?
Oh, this sounds so silly, but like the basic movement of pulling it back, it's muscles I had never used in my life, not to mention I'm kind of scrawny as it is. So, I mean, just that motion to even break your bow back, to be able to shoot it was really frustrating for me. I mean, I could not pull it back for the longest time without his help. Because it's just not a movement that we use every day. But then I guess to expand on that, that's a pretty basic struggle. But then, to expand on that, as far as being in the field, my biggest struggle in the beginning, as well as now, literally every hunt, is my scent. I don't know what it is about me. I bathe in scent lock for, an entire week, and it doesn't matter. I get busted by does all the time, and it's kind of a joke. That's why I enjoy hunting does actually more than bucks, even though everybody loves a beautiful buck, but those does are so smart. I mean, they pick up on everything, and it is such a heavier challenge for me because they can wind me from so far away. And of course, as you know, bucks typically will just take off, and the does are going to sit there and blow over and over and over again, and it's just can practically ruin your hunt. So that is definitely my challenge every time I go to the stand.
When you're sitting in the stand, you talked a bunch about scent control. What are the things you do once you're in the stand to mitigate your scent?
Well, of course, your stand. You're saying once I'm already in the stand, so I guess
yes,
stand placement is irrelevant at this point. So my hair is really, I think, honestly, what just messes up my hunts all the time. So I will spray my hair down like crazy with scent control, and then I will stuff it up into my hat as much as possible. I have used ozonics before, and I've actually had a great experience with ozonics. I went from getting blown every time to I had does downwind of me using ozonics. That's not everybody's experience, but it's worked for me. That would be, that's probably the main thing. We don't use a lot of scents, as like lures and stuff like that. One thing I do walking to the stand is if I can find either, cedar, I will rub cedar all over me. I will step in fresh cow manure if I can find it, just for my footsteps. Little things like that always help for me.
Let's talk about, as you continue to learn and you're focusing on the outdoor industry and you're learning about, hunting, you're also learning about what it takes for women to be successful in the industry. Let's just talk about what you envision Guerrero is going to become.
Oh, man. That's really tough because I could see it going so many different ways. Right now I want to strengthen it as an outlet for women to go to and learn from, whether it's product knowledge or just tips and tricks in the field, mistakes made, and hunting new game as I learn. It could be simply a resource, but I've also thought about it being very easily becoming a line of clothing or something of the sort, a product within the industry. It's just there's so much competition. There's a lot of people going down that road right now that it's not real high on my list. I'm not trying to just jump in on that, but the cool thing about that brand and growing that brand is that I don't feel like that I have any boundaries with it. I see it being many different things. Even considering a TV show. I don't know where it's going to go. So, right now I'm just taking it a day at a time and just hoping that I continue to inspire people, not go through the, the intimidation factor that I've dealt with over the years. And if I can do that, then I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy right now, but the possibilities are endless with that brand. And that's why I really am trying to grow it as much as possible.
Let's talk about all the questions you ask, and what's that help you to overcome?
Well, I've always been taught there are no stupid questions. And I think it's really, really important for people to realize that. No matter how long you've been hunting, and especially in the beginning, but even the people who think that have it all figured out, you don't really ever know everything in this industry. It's always a learning experience. You're always growing. You're taking something from the field, or when you meet someone, you can learn something new. But to never, I always encourage people to not hesitate to ask questions when they're unsure of something, and not feel stupid doing that. It's really important, because if you don't ask, you're never going to know. So that's kind of my motto in the back of my head. When somebody says something and I just, I don't know what that means, and to ask them, well, then, you're constantly growing your knowledge. So that's really, I like to encourage people to constantly ask questions and keep growing, and never assume that you know it all, because you don't, and you never will. It's okay not to know something.
Now let's talk about the hardest deer that you hunted, let's say, last year. What lessons did you learn about that deer and about your hunting style?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. My hardest deer that I hunted. I would say... Oh, I know one. So there was, it's actually the only buck that I harvested in 2015, and it was in Rock Springs, Texas, on a ranch that we hunt quite often. And he'd been on camera, running around with a couple other bucks, and I'm sitting in the blind. He comes in and then he leaves, and he comes in and he leaves. I couldn't get a shot at him. He just wouldn't be still. He was really, really spooked. And I shot him quartering away from me, but he was quartering. It was a very, very, really, really hard quartering away shot. And I panicked when I released that arrow. I mean, and Braxton was sitting with me. I panicked 100% because the entry hole was further back than I expected it to be. I pulled right a little bit, and what I thought was going to be a terrible shot ended up being a beautiful shot. It went straight through his heart. But that moment of my mistake in that hunt was that he was leaving for the third time, and he was just walking really, really slow, and I released. And I'm, it's hard for me to say that on, to let you know this, but it's a mistake that I made. I didn't wait. I didn't try to stop him. I did not wait for him to stop in what I thought would be a horrible mistake where I'd be tracking for miles and ended up being, 50 yards away. He piled up. But that was a huge learning lesson for me, that if ever you have one walking away, do everything you can to get him to stop, so that you make sure you're making an ethical shot. So that was hard on me leading up, before I found him. I panicked pretty bad, and we got it all on video, and seeing the footage just devastated me. But it ended up being great. I mean, ended up being probably one of the best shots I've made, truthfully. That was a learning lesson, though.
Well, obviously you had the confidence that you could put the arrow where you wanted it, and when you released, you moved it just an inch or less than an inch to the right.
Sure, yeah. But when you see one quartering away that much, and you just see it go when it enters that far back, I thought, oh man, if I just gut shot this deer, I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. It was awful. It was a terrible few minutes until I walked up on him, and then it was, I was just so excited, just bouncing up and down. So it's crazy how in such a short period of time you can experience so many emotions from
yes, it is.
suspense of him walking there and then leaving, and you're sad, and then he's come back and you're shaken, and then think you make this horrible shot, and I was on the verge of tears, and then finding him to just it was just an exhausting period of time to go through all those roller coaster of emotions. But that's what hunting is about. I mean, you're going to have that over and over again. I know it's not the last time I'm going to feel that devastation, whether, that's just part of it, especially with bow hunting. It just is. It won't be the last time that I feel that.
Well, Jessica, let's wrap up this part of the show for just a couple more moments and share 3 to 5 things that you'd like to impart to our lady listeners, and then we'll give you 90 seconds or 2 minutes to give shout-outs to people that have been supportive of you. So let's share a couple of secrets of Jessica Taylor Byers with the women listen to the show.
So as far as bow hunting goes, I would say, again, it might seem really cliche, but to practice multiple times a week, but to not just practice standing up or sitting down. For all the beginners out there, it's really important. Like, do it in the most uncomfortable positions, because you're going to be, you never truly know when the opportunity will present itself. And it's really important that on your hunts you're going to the field feeling extremely confident. There's not a worse feeling than going out to the field and feeling like when the opportunity comes, you don't even think you could make that shot. So you can never practice too much. Practicing in different positions is key, and it's great. Kind of to roll with that, I love fitness and working out for when I do hunt, outside of Texas, because Texas is a totally different style of hunting. We don't spot and stalk. Some people do. I shouldn't say nobody does, but it's just not the norm here. So when I do hunt out of state, I like to prepare for those hunts by, mixing up my practice sessions with push-ups or burpees and stuff to get your heart rate pumping, because even just sitting in a stand without spotting and stalking, you're going to have that adrenaline pumping like crazy. And to learn how to control that is key with bow hunting, but especially when you're going up and down, in the mountains. Let's see what else. Kind of off the subject as far as like of bow hunting, but just in general, women supporting women is really important to me. So to see us sticking together and, constantly encouraging each other, again, in a male-dominant industry, I think it's really empowering, and it's unstoppable. And it's really great when you have that support system from other women that are trying to figure it out just like you are. So that's probably what I would say to wrap up my session, Bruce.
All right. Now you got, like I said, 90 seconds or so to give a promo or shout out to friends, to Braxton, whomever that you'd like to.
So first and foremost, I'd like to shout out to my dad for raising me in the outdoors and taking me along literally for as long as I can remember. He's always had me in the field hunting and fishing, teaching me new things any chance he gets, as forever, as far back as I can remember. Definitely my husband for having the patience to teach me a completely new skill that has turned into a passion that I can't imagine not having in my life. Family members, that don't completely understand it, who aren't necessarily outdoors people, but they support this journey that I'm on, and these dreams that I've set for myself. And Man, Hardy Face Paint for being an awesome sponsor, and just all the support from my followers. Like, I'm not in a celebrity by any means, but the constant feedback that I have from my followers across every platform is probably the most encouraging thing on a daily basis. I try to respond to as many people as possible, but I cannot say thank you enough for supporting me near and far. I'm forever grateful for that.
Well, Jessica Taylor Byers, our time really went fast, and on behalf of the Whitetail Rendezvous Nation, thank you so much for being a guest today. You're an extraordinary young lady whose future is extremely bright.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
As your host at Whitetail Rendezvous, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your time with us today. I look forward to sharing with you in the next episode more whitetail hunting tips, techniques, and stories. Until then, keep the sun at your back, the wind in your face, and always be patient.
If you have any tips, comments, or suggestions, or what we can do to improve, because we're here to serve you, let us know. Thanks for listening to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast at www.whitetailrendezvous.com.